We're going to be evaluating using substitution. That means that our first step is substituting a number in for a letter. So our expression that we're going to be evaluating is x minus y. It tells us that x is 2 and y is 5. So we're going to substitute in the 2 and the 5 for x and y, and then what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate it. So that means that we have 2 minus 5, and 2 minus 5 is negative 3. And that right there is our answer. Now looking at the next one, notice that the expression is a little bit different. This time it's x squared minus y squared. So once again, what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate it by plugging in the negative 1 in for the x and the 4 in for the y. So we have negative 1 squared minus 4 squared. Negative 1 squared is 1. 4 squared is 16. 1 minus 16 is negative 15. What I want you to do is pause for a second, try the next two, and then we'll go over them. For the next one, we have m and n. We're going to solve this just like x and y. M is 2, n is negative 3. So we have 2 plus negative 3 squared. That would be 2 plus 9, which is equal to 11. Now looking at the next one, we have a and b. A being negative 4, and b being 2. With order of operations, I'm going to multiply first. So I have negative 4 minus 6, which of course is negative 10. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be working on filling in a table. Now when we're filling in this table, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the negative 1. We're going to plug it in. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Then we're going to take the 0 and plug it in. 0 plus 3 is 3. Our next one is the 1. We're going to take the 1 and plug it in. 1 plus 3 is 4. Now looking at the next one, what we have is a negative 2. We're going to plug a negative 2 in. Now, order of operations, we're going to multiply first. So we have 3, a negative is a positive. So 3 plus 4 is 7. Then we're going to plug in the 0. We know anything times 0 is 0, so that would be 3 minus 0, which is 3. Then we plug in a 2. So that would be 3 minus 4. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Now looking at the third one, we're going to take the negative 3. We're going to plug it in for the x. We're substituting it in. This right here means multiplication. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Minus 1 is negative 10. Then we're going to plug in a 0. So when we plug in a 0, anything times 0 is, of course, 0. And then that would be 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. And for the next one, what we do is we plug in a 1. So when we plug in a 1, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. Once again, pause for a second, try those next three, and then we'll go over them. Looking at our next one, we're going to plug in the negative 1. Now this is a little tricky because we have a negative and a negative. And remember, a negative and a negative is a positive, so that would be the same thing as 4 plus 1. Our next one that we're going to plug in is 0. So when we plug in a 0, 4 minus 0 is 4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug in a 1. And that would give us 4 minus 1, which is 3. Looking at our next one, we have the 5, and we're going to plug in a negative 1. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, minus 2 gives us negative 7. Now we're going to plug in a 0. Anything times 0 we know is 0, so that would be 0 minus 2, which is negative 2. And then when we plug in a 2, 5 times 2 gives us a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. Now, looking at the next one, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take the negative 3, and we're going to replace it with each of these numbers. So the first one is negative 1. Negative and negative, remember, is a positive. So 3 plus 7 would be 10. For the next one, we're plugging in a 0. And negative 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 7 is 7. And then our last one when we plug in a 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, plus 7 is 4.